BLUELOCK is splitting into two because of this France game. Even after scoring a goal and leveling the match, a sense of uneasiness is coming over the team. Karasu and Hiyori have shown they can fight against the winning contenders, but Ego and Isagi are questioning their methods, hinting that something big in BLUELOCK is about to happen, which not only affects the France game, but BLUELOCK as a whole moving forward. Two completely different sides are being created, and the effects it could have could be devastating. So I want to cover all of it. Why I think this team we've grown to love is splitting into two, why it's dangerous for our favorite characters, and of course, what BLUELOCK can do moving forward. Starting with the split. Now, you can kind of assume this from the events of chapter 336, but there are a lot of people confused or don't understand entirely what's going on. I mean, it wasn't explicitly said. So we have to use a lot of context clues. From my interpretation, there are two philosophies currently in BLUELOCK. You have the original philosophy that everyone should chase to be the number one, literally the whole point of BLUELOCK in the first place. Y'all should already know the OG BLUELOCK mentality by now, but in this case, there is a new philosophy kind of shown in this game through Karasu. Karasu gave up his striker consciousness, gave up the number one ambition to become BLUELOCK's number two. These two philosophies set up both sides of BLUELOCK and are opposites of each other, so you can kind of see why it's dangerous. Now, the reason why this is so controversial is because we just saw Karasu's philosophy work out in a very good way against the literal number one ranked team. BLUELOCK was struggling, Isagi was more or less useless, and Karasu was the only one making plays, stealing possession, dribbling, and then teaming up with Hiyori, leading to BLUELOCK's first goal. Now, in any timeline, you would be happy about scoring a goal. On paper, all of us are happy. BLUELOCK is finally getting some points on the board, unless you're a Hiyori hater. But in this case, Karasu specifically sacrificed his own goal and basically went against the whole premise of BLUELOCK's number one philosophy. So even though both sides are polar opposites, it's just controversial because Karasu's obviously worked. Karasu adapted, made changes, and BLUELOCK is now tied because of Karasu. But it wasn't the quote-unquote BLUELOCK way, which is why we see Ego having absolutely no desire for this chemical reaction. And just reading his facial expression, the fact that he's leaning forward with his hands over his mouth, yeah, bro's definitely not approving of that play. You have players like Rin as well, who wasn't celebrating, but telling a struggling Isagi to keep chasing the number one spot. Second best is just lukewarm. Both of them have their justifications for their own sides. Karasu, in like real life football, this is a good play. It tied up the score. It's illogical to kind of get mad at Karasu for making this play, which is why there is a split between both the community and in the manga itself, because Ego and BLUELOCK want it to be a certain ideal of everyone being number ones and forming chemical reactions that way, instead of Karasu's way, which still scored them a goal, by the way. In a way as well, you can say BLUELOCK this whole time has been trying to change Japan from that mentality. You should be the one taking the shot. You should be the egoist that doesn't hesitate. So the argument for Ego and BLUELOCK's side is Karasu took an easier path for short-term success at the cost of long-term consequences. So you can already see the problem, but the solutions are even more dangerous. Like, if we keep pursuing the number one mentality and Ego is right, who knows if it's going to work? It obviously hasn't been working in the first 5 chapters. And because of that, maybe the right decision is to switch things up. That's why a popular theory or belief in the community at the current moment is subbing out Isagi because he's just ineffective right now. The other solution is that Ego might do the exact opposite just to pursue his own ideals, subbing out Karasu or Hiyori, which doesn't really make sense because they're obviously working. If any of those happen, both the community and the manga will be at difference, causing a rift between BLUELOCK, our characters, who is right and who is wrong. So that's why you can see this split is causing such a problem and it's dangerous for BLUELOCK. But regardless of who is right and wrong, the fact of the matter is, the split is gonna cause even more problems in the France game. Players will be arguing, maybe certain dialogue between characters and their philosophies, especially if someone like Karasu gets subbed out after making a good play. Relationships might not be the same between characters. Mental blocks, France getting into their head, which was even stated to be one of their objectives. Again, the stakes are very, very high for this. So no matter what, it kind of sounds like we're cooked against France, which I believe so. I think this just puts us even further into a hole. But what exactly can BLUELOCK do against this? And kind of what we're here for, right? Even though it's splitting into two, can they recover? Well, there's one thing I've been leaving out since mentioning the split, and that's of course Isagi. Yes, the love him or hate him character. At the current moment, we either got Isagi glazers or Isagi haters. The reason he's very important though is because he's currently going through a mental struggle of which side should he pick. Does he keep chasing that #1 spot, chasing his own goal like Rin is pushing him to do, what BLUELOCK was created for? Or does he listen to Hugo and fight for others, siding with Karasu as the #2? I think the community also thinks he's more suitable towards this. There is so much midfielder slander. The side the main character chooses is going to be very, very important. But the decision isn't as easy as you think because Isagi flip-flops between both the mentalities. People have pointed this out recently, especially his character regression, because in the last Nigeria game, he literally says he is a machine that'll make Japan the best in the world. But come time for France, and we see absolutely none of that. All of a sudden, he's chasing his #1 role, taking shots to kind of prove he's #1, and against an opponent like France, these ego-motivated shots aren't working. They are a top team, and that's why he's very ineffective right now, even blocking his shot. Take into account Hugo's rage bait as well, and yeah, Isagi isn't doing too hot, and this is coming from someone that likes Isagi, so it's just proving Hugo's point all the more. So you can see how Isagi's character flip-flops between the two mentalities, especially because in the recent chapter, we see him question which way is right, and this is where my take or theory comes into play. Now, I think throughout this game specifically, Isagi is still gonna pursue his #1 spot or BLUELOCK philosophy. But obviously, this won't work because it hasn't been working in the first 5 chapters. Why would it magically work now? He needs to find something out. And I think what he'll find out is how to properly play as a #1 through a player like Shido. Shido is a character who isn't held back by anything. His character is the embodiment of freedom, and also, he's one of the only players to not rely on Isagi. So he makes for a perfect contender to teach Isagi something new. I think this will be a key turning point for Isagi's character, where he learns to prioritize his own goals and letting go of titles like BLUELOCK's #1, a problem he has in this game. Not only that, but the fact that Isagi thinks BLUELOCK relies so heavily on him, and he feels so much pressure to perform, he also needs to somehow get Hugo out of his head, and this could be a way to do so. If I ever get that Shido and Isagi video out, I talk about how he'll teach Isagi how to innovate in the moment, making him less predictable, which lines up with this France game. Hugo and Charles know of Isagi's ability, so they made countermeasures. So the way for him to be actually effective is learning how to innovate in the moment, just like Shido does. I also feel like Shido and Isagi are due for a chemical reaction. We've never seen them properly work together, but that's not where the theory ends, because I still think this game will be a loss for BLUELOCK. France will win, even though Isagi is pursuing his own goal and the #1 spot. I think Isagi will have a downfall, and I'll get to that in a second, but the key takeaways from this match is that he now knows how to play as a #1 and play for himself. It still doesn't come without a loss though. Isagi will still 100% have a downfall. During the France game, he would most likely chase the #1 spot. BLUELOCK will lose against France, and then Isagi questions if what he did was right or wrong, the decision he made and the side he chose. Especially if you take in consideration the context of other things that might have happened, such as him being selfish, maybe Karasu being subbed out, throwing away his connections to BLUELOCK because we know the weight of his responsibilities as BLUELOCK's #1, people relying on him and whatnot, and just the fears of BLUELOCK crumbling if he messes up. All of those things he'll get rid of, and inherently that just makes Isagi more selfish because he's focusing only on himself. And Kaneshiro asked us before, will we still love Isagi till the end? So him going all in on that striker mentality makes us question that. However, I see 2 paths here. One path is that Isagi keeps selfishly chasing away as the #1 striker, following the BLUELOCK mentality just like always. Or the second path, where he'll make a realization of how to play for himself and how to also play for others, just like he did in Nigeria. Remember that the key takeaway Isagi will learn from this France game is how to play for himself. And in Nigeria, it was all about being a machine for Japan's victory. England, the last game, will be Isagi learning how to balance both of those. 3 games, 3 lessons, all culminating in the group stage. And that will be the key to helping a splitting Blue Lock. Isagi is the only character who has both played for himself and for others. Once he perfects that playstyle, he's gonna be able to bring together both sides. I think that's what's gonna be his next evolution. It's not just the number 1 he wants, it's not the number 2 that Hugo wants, it's the realization that he's both. This playstyle also fits Isagi's character so well. Learning how to balance between playing for others and playing for himself would actually make him so much of a better player. We've seen his mistakes throughout this France game is literally that. He doesn't know how to balance it, which is why he made a selfish missed shot instead of passing it to Rin. Isagi is a character that has one of the biggest egos, but he's also super rational. Learning how to master those 2 sides means he can take advantage of both of those. And it makes even more sense when you realize he said before that Ego's football isn't enough for him anymore. He has to go beyond Ego's mentality by innovating something new, a new theory like he said he will bring against Noel Noah, something that will make him the best striker. With the context clues of Blue Lock splitting, Isagi being the middleman, 3 coincidental games with 3 different philosophies, and just fitting Isagi's playstyle, you can see where I'm going with this. But that's just a theory. I feel like there is so much context Blue Lock is gonna give us soon, so this could be irrelevant in literally a few more weeks. Regardless if I'm right or wrong, I'm super excited to see where Blue Lock is headed. I think Kaneshiro is cooking up something big. I had to kind of rush this video out before he does anything crazy. Leave any thoughts you have down below on this theory. What do you think about Blue Lock splitting? What do you think Isagi's role would be? Which side do you think is more justified? Is Isagi gonna keep chasing the Blue Lock mentality or create his own? If you made it to the end though, thank you so much for watching as always. YouTube really thinks you like this video right here, so be sure to check that one out too. I appreciate y'all so much, and I'll see y'all in the next one.